I'll never forget that day, the one that was supposed to be among the most important of my life. After years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, and tears shed over textbooks, my high school graduation had finally arrived. For many, it might just be another ceremony, another piece of paper to collect before moving on with their lives. But for me, it meant everything. I come from a family where no one had finished high school. My dad barely completed middle school before he had to start working construction, and my mom dropped out when she got pregnant with my older brother at 16. The Hernandez family wasn't born to study. My uncle Ramon would joke whenever he saw me with my books. We were born to work hard, but I always dreamed of something different. I wanted to prove to everyone that it was possible, that a Hernandez could also wear a cap and gown, receive a diploma, and maybe someday go to college. My mom supported me in her way, even if she didn't fully understand why I tried so hard. "As long as you're happy, son," she'd say, while serving me another cup of coffee past 11 at night so I could keep studying. It wasn't easy. I worked part-time at a taco shop after school to help at home and buy my own school supplies. Many times I'd arrive at exams exhausted and still smelling of cooking oil, but I never gave up. Each passing grade was a small victory, bringing me closer to that moment I'd dreamed about for so long. The graduation ceremony was scheduled for 6 in the evening at the school's main auditorium. Weeks before, Mrs. Martinez, the coordinator, had come to our classrooms handing out formal invitations and reminding us how important it was to arrive on time and presentable. "Remember, this is a solemn event," she told us with that authoritative tone of hers. "No sneakers, no jeans, and please, please show up bathed." Some classmates laughed, but I mentally noted every detail. I wanted everything to be perfect. The problem arose 3 days before graduation when they called me from the taco shop. Don Javier, the owner, explained that one of the cooks had an accident and needed me to cover his shift, right on the day of my ceremony. "But boss, it's my graduation," I said, my voice breaking. "I've been waiting for this moment for years." "Sorry, kid," he replied. "If you don't come, I'll have to find someone else for your position, too. You decide what's more important, a little party or keeping your job." I was stunned. That job meant being able to help at home and save for college. I couldn't lose it, but I didn't want to miss my graduation either. I spent the night thinking about what to do until I came up with an idea. I'd work until 5, change quickly in the taco shop bathroom, and run to school to make it on time. The big day arrived. I worked harder than ever, moving at full speed between tables, taking orders, cleaning, collecting payments. Unfortunately, the taco shop filled up like rarely before, and Don Javier watched me closely each time I checked my watch. At 5:20 p.m., when I should have been changing already, I was still serving a particularly demanding group of customers. "Boss, I really need to leave now," I told him when he passed by me. "Have you seen how busy we are?" "You can't leave yet," he answered without even looking at me. At 5:45 p.m., I finally ran to the bathroom with the backpack where I kept my only formal shirt, dress pants borrowed from my cousin, and shoes I'd bought at the flea market especially for the occasion. I changed at lightning speed, but when I took out the shoes, I discovered with horror they were stained with sauce. Someone had spilled food inside my backpack. There was no time to clean them. I put them on anyway and ran to the high school, 15 blocks away. I ran like never before, sweat soaking through my freshly put-on shirt, my heart beating 1,000 times a minute. When I finally reached the auditorium, the clock showed 6:25 p.m. The ceremony had already begun. I tried to enter through the main door, but one of the school supervisors stopped me. It was Mr. Gomez, known for his rigidity and bad temper. "Where do you think you're going, Hernandez?" he asked, looking me up and down with contempt. "To my graduation, sir," I answered, panting, trying to catch my breath. "Sorry I'm late, I had to work, and you think you can enter looking like that?" He interrupted, pointing at my appearance. My shirt was soaked with sweat, pants wrinkled, and those shoes, those sauce-stained shoes that seemed to mock me. "Please, sir," I begged. "I've waited for this moment for 3 years. My family is inside. My mom asked for time off work to come." "You should have thought about that before showing up in this condition," he ruled. The principal was very clear about the dress code. If I let you in like this, what message are we sending to the other students? That rules can be broken. I felt tears beginning to form in my eyes, but I breathed deeply to hold them back. I wouldn't cry in front of him. I wouldn't give him that satisfaction. I don't know how long I sat on that bench outside the auditorium, alone, listening to the muffled applause and laughter coming from inside. 20 minutes, maybe 30. Time seemed to have stopped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I thought about leaving, about simply walking home and pretending the next day that everything had gone well. But something kept me rooted to that spot. Perhaps the childish hope that someone would come looking for me, or maybe just the fear of facing the disappointment in my family's eyes. That's when the side door of the auditorium opened. It wasn't the main entrance where I had tried to enter, but a small service door that usually remained closed. Through it came Miss Wilson, my literature teacher, the only one who had truly believed in me from day one. "Miguel, what are you doing out here?" she asked, approaching with quick steps. Her eyes widened when she saw me in detail. The sweaty shirt, wrinkled pants, stained shoes. "They wouldn't let me in, Miss Wilson," I replied with a broken voice. "Mr. Gomez said I didn't meet the dress code, that I couldn't present myself like this." Ms. Wilson pressed her lips together in a gesture I knew well. It was the same one she made when reading an essay with spelling mistakes or when a student made a particularly ignorant comment in class. "And that's why you're out here? The student with the highest GPA in his class, who never missed a single one of my classes in 3 years? The one who worked every afternoon and still turned in every assignment on time?" I didn't know what to respond. It was the first time someone had listed my achievements that way, as if they were something extraordinary, and not simply what was expected of me. "Come with me," she said, taking my arm. "We'll find a solution." "But Miss Wilson, look at me," I protested, pointing at my clothes. "Mr. Gomez is right, I can't go in like this. It's disrespectful to the ceremony." Miss Wilson stopped and looked me directly in the eyes. "Miguel Hernandez, the real disrespect would be if you, especially you, didn't receive your diploma today. Do you know why I came out? I was surprised not to see you in your place. Your mom is also looking for you. She's already asked the people in your row twice where you were." I felt a pang of guilt. My mom would be worried, probably imagining the worst. "Come," she insisted. "I know another entrance through the gym locker rooms. Nobody will see us go in." I followed her almost without thinking, walking hunched beside the auditorium windows so no one could see me from inside. We went around the building until we reached the back, where the gym was. The teacher took out a set of keys and opened a metal door that squeaked from lack of use. "The benefits of being in charge of the drama club," she commented with a half smile as we entered. "I know every corner of this school." The gym was dark, barely illuminated by the light filtering in from the hallway through the windows. We walked between the bleachers and exercise equipment until we reached the locker rooms. There, Ms. Wilson turned on a small flashlight she carried in her purse. "There should be something that fits you in the basketball team's locker," she murmured while opening a metal cabinet. "The boys always leave extra clothes here." "Miss Wilson, I don't think it's right to take—" "We're not stealing, Miguel," she interrupted. "We're solving an emergency. Besides, aren't you friends with Sebastian Ramirez? He's the captain. I'm sure he won't mind lending you something for a few hours." Indeed, Sebastian was one of the few classmates I got along with. We became friends in freshman year when we were paired for a chemistry project and discovered we were fans of the same football team. "Miss..." Wilson pulled out a white shirt with the school logo and black dress pants. "Part of the formal uniform for events," she explained. "And look, there are shoes too. Sebastian is always prepared for everything." The shoes were a bit big for me, but the rest fit surprisingly well. I changed quickly in one of the cubicles while Miss Wilson waited outside, casting nervous glances at her watch. "Hurry up, Miguel," she urged. "They're already handing out special recognitions. Soon they'll begin with the diplomas." When I came out of the cubicle, already changed, Ms. Wilson examined me from head to toe and nodded in approval. "Much better," she said. "Now just one final touch." She took a small bottle of cologne from her purse and lightly sprayed me. The fresh scent immediately covered any trace of sweat or cooking oil that might have remained on me. My husband always forgets his when we travel, she explained with a wink. I've learned to be prepared. We followed a narrow corridor connecting the gym to the auditorium. As we got closer, I could hear more clearly the voice of Principal Mendoza calling the names of outstanding students. I recognized the names of several classmates going up to the stage to receive medals for academic, athletic, or artistic excellence. We're almost there, whispered the teacher, stopping in front of a door. This leads directly to the side of the stage. Wait here a moment. Miss Wilson went in, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my racing heart. What would Mr. Gomez say if he saw me? Would he throw me out again, this time in front of everyone? Or worse, would he humiliate Miss Wilson for helping me? Minutes passed and she didn't return. Anxiety was beginning to take over me again when suddenly the door opened. But it wasn't Miss Wilson standing in front of me. It was Principal Mendoza herself. So here you are, Miguel Hernandez, she said with that firm voice that could make even the most rebellious student tremble. Walking behind Principal Mendoza toward the center of the stage felt like entering one of those dreams where you're naked in front of the whole school. I could feel hundreds of eyes fixed on me. The auditorium, which until a few seconds ago buzzed with conversations and laughter, fell into absolute silence. Under the blinding lights, I spotted Mr. Gomez's face in the front row, his eyes wide as saucers, and his mouth forming a perfect O of surprise. The principal approached the microphone while I remained a few steps behind, not knowing exactly what to do with my hands or where to fix my gaze. I searched the audience until I found my mom, seated in the parents section next to my grandma. Her expression was a mixture of confusion and pride that gave me strength to stand firm. Esteemed parents, respected teachers, dear students, began the principal, her voice resonating throughout the auditorium. Each year at this ceremony, we give recognition to students who have excelled in various fields. We recognize academic excellence, athletic talent, artistic abilities. But there's something we rarely have the opportunity to publicly acknowledge: unwavering determination in the face of adversity. The principal turned slightly toward me before continuing. The young man standing beside me, Miguel Hernandez, has not only maintained the highest GPA in his class for 3 consecutive years, but he has done so while working daily to help support his family. A murmur ran through the auditorium. I saw how some of my classmates looked at each other, surprised. Most knew I worked, but few really understood my situation. Today, continued the principal, Miguel left work and ran here so as not to miss his graduation. And when he arrived, she made a significant pause. He was not allowed to enter for not complying with the dress code. Gazes instinctively turned toward Mr. Gomez, who shifted uncomfortably in his seat. At that moment, Miguel didn't protest or make a scene. He simply accepted the decision and sat outside, alone, while we celebrated in here. Because that's who Miguel is. Respectful, disciplined, resilient. I felt my face burning with a mix of embarrassment and pride. I had never received so many compliments in public. Fortunately, Miss Wilson found him and informed me of the situation. And I must say I feel deeply disappointed. Not with Miguel, but with us as an institution. The silence in the auditorium was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Because in our obsession with rules and appearances, we almost deprived our best student of his moment of recognition. We almost forgot that education is not about well-knotted ties or shiny shoes, but about forming individuals of integrity who know how to face life's obstacles with dignity. I saw my mom wiping away a tear with the corner of her shawl. My grandma beside her nodded energetically at each word from the principal. Therefore, continued Principal Mendoza, taking a velvet box that the vice principal handed her, I not only want to give Miguel his well-deserved recognition as valedictorian of the class of 2022-2025, but also the first Medal of Merit and Perseverance that this institution awards. She opened the box, revealing a gold medal with the high school crest. The audience burst into applause. I saw several of my teachers stand up, initiating a standing ovation that soon spread throughout the auditorium. With trembling hands, I received the medal as the principal placed it around my neck. The weight of the medal against my chest felt unreal, as if all this were part of an elaborate fantasy. "Now," said the principal, bringing me to the microphone, "I'd like Miguel to share a few words with us." Panic. I wasn't prepared to speak in front of so many people. I had always been the quiet student, the one who sat in the back and only spoke when teachers directly asked me something. But now, with hundreds of expectant eyes on me, I had to find my voice. I don't know what to say," I began awkwardly. "I never thought I'd be up here." I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. 3 years ago, when I entered this high school, many told me I didn't belong here, that the Hernandez family wasn't made for studying, but for working with our hands. And maybe they were partly right, because I have worked with my hands. I've served tacos, washed dishes, cleaned tables, but I've also written essays, solved equations, and learned about history and science. My voice was gaining strength as I spoke. I'm not here despite being a Hernandez or despite working at a taco shop. I'm here precisely because of that. Because my family taught me the value of effort and honest work. And every dish I washed, every order I served, reminded me why I was studying. To have options, to open doors, to prove that a person's worth isn't in their last name or their job, but in their determination. The days following graduation were a whirlwind of emotions. The video of Principal Mendoza's speech and my improvised words had gone viral in the school's WhatsApp groups. Classmates I'd barely spoken to in 3 years were sending me congratulatory messages. Some teachers who had always treated me with indifference now greeted me by name when they saw me on the street. But the most surprising thing happened on Monday after the ceremony, when I was on my regular shift at the taco shop. Don Javier called me to his office, a small cubicle with plywood walls located at the back of the premises. "Miguel," he said, scratching his gray beard, "I heard about what happened at your graduation." I felt a knot in my stomach. Was he upset because I had almost abandoned my shift that day? "My nephew studies at your high school," he continued. He showed me the video. "You never told me you were the valedictorian." I shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "I didn't think it was important for the job, boss." Don Javier let out a laugh that made his prominent belly vibrate. "Not important? Boy, I have the brainiest kid in the whole high school folding tortillas and serving salsas. It's like having Einstein preparing tacos al pastor." I didn't know what to respond. Don Javier suddenly got serious. "Look, Miguel, I didn't even finish middle school. I started as a helper at a taco stand when I was 12, and it cost me blood, sweat, and tears to build this business. I didn't have the opportunities you have now." He stood up and walked toward a calendar stuck on the wall, where he had noted the month's accounts. "I've been thinking. Do you plan to continue studying?" "I'd like to go to college," I replied cautiously. "I'm waiting for the results of the admission exam for engineering." Don Javier nodded, as if my answer confirmed something he already knew. "I'm going to make you a proposal, Miguel. I want to sponsor your studies." I blinked several times. Sure, I'd heard wrong. "What do you mean, boss?" "What you heard. I'm going to pay for your college. In exchange, I want you to work here part-time, but not serving tables. I want you to take charge of the accounting, to modernize the business, to use that brain of yours to grow the taco shop." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Don Javier, the same guy who almost made me miss my graduation, now wanted to pay for my college. "But boss, that's too generous. I don't know if I can accept it." "It's not generosity, boy," he replied with a crooked smile. "It's investment. Besides, do you think I didn't notice how you calculated bills faster than the cash register? Or how you reorganized the storage room without anyone asking, saving me space and inventory time?" He came closer and put his calloused hand on my shoulder. "Miguel, I never had children. This business is my whole life. And someday I'm going to have to pass the baton to someone. Why not to an engineer who understands both numbers and how to make a good taco?" I left that office with my head spinning and my heart about to burst. That night, when I told my family what had happened, my mom started crying, and my grandma crossed herself 3 times, giving thanks to the Virgin of Guadalupe. But the chain of surprises didn't end there. 2 days later, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Principal Mendoza. "Miguel, sorry to bother you during your vacation, but I need to talk to you about an important matter. Could you come to school tomorrow?" My first thought was that something had gone wrong with my documents. Maybe they discovered some error in my grades, or there was a problem with my certificate. With my stomach in knots from anxiety, I showed up promptly at the principal's office the next morning. To my surprise, she wasn't alone. Next to her was a man in a suit who looked vaguely familiar. "Miguel, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Ramirez, father of your classmate Sebastian, and president of the State Business Association." The man stood up to shake my hand. Now I understood why he looked familiar. He had the same charismatic smile as Sebastian. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Miguel," he said in a deep voice. "My son has talked a lot about you, and after seeing your speech at graduation, I understand why." I sat down, increasingly confused about the purpose of this meeting. 5 years have passed since that graduation night. 5 years that transformed my life in ways I never could have imagined. Mr. Ramirez's scholarship turned out to be everything he promised, and more. It not only covered my complete studies in industrial engineering, but opened doors I didn't even know existed. The professional internships began in a small manufacturing company, but by the end of my second year, I had been transferred to the main headquarters of the Ramirez Business Group. Don Javier kept his word too. Although I politely declined his offer to finance my studies, since I already had the scholarship, I accepted continuing to work at the taco shop as a business advisor. The first thing I did was implement a digital inventory system that reduced waste by 30%. Then came a menu redesign, a social media marketing strategy, and before we knew it, Don Javier's Tacos had gone from being a corner shop to a chain with 3 locations in the city. Who would have thought my tacos would go so far? Don Javier would say to me every time we reviewed the monthly numbers, which kept growing. My family also experienced significant changes. With the scholarship stipend and what I earned at the taco shop, I was able to help my mom leave her factory job. Now she manages the original Don Javier's Tacos location, and although she works as hard as ever, she does it under very different conditions. Her own schedule, her own space, her own workplace dignity. My older brother, inspired by my journey, decided to resume his studies. Now he's about to finish high school through an adult education program and is already talking about continuing with a technical career. "If the little bro could do it, so can I," he says with that mixture of pride and brotherly rivalry that has always characterized us. My grandma, at 78 years old, remains the same. Every Sunday when I visit her, she welcomes me with a strong hug and her usual phrase, "See, I told you the Hernandez family could do it." And then she proceeds to show me the newspaper clippings where my name has appeared, carefully saved in an album that's already on its 2nd volume. Because yes, my name has appeared in local newspapers several times. The first was when I received a national recognition for a logistics optimization project I developed during my 3rd year of college. The second, when the story of my graduation was picked up by a journalist for a report on young people breaking barriers. And the most recent, just 2 months ago, when my appointment as innovation director at the Ramirez Business Group was announced, the youngest person to hold a management position in the company's history. But of all the surprises and turns my life has taken, perhaps the most significant occurred a year ago, when I received a call from Principal Mendoza. She was about to retire after 35 years leading the high school and wanted to see me. "Miguel," she told me as we shared a coffee in her office, surrounded by boxes with her half-packed belongings. "Do you remember what I told you the day after your graduation? About feeling proud of having educated someone like you?" I nodded. Those words had been a source of strength during the difficult moments of college. "Well, now I need to ask you something. The Department of Education is implementing a new program called Mentors for the Future. Okay. They're looking for successful professionals who can give motivational talks and practical workshops in public schools, sharing their experience with students in vulnerable situations." I looked at her, beginning to understand where she was going. "I want to nominate you as a mentor for our school," she confirmed my suspicions. "No one better than you to inspire kids who face the same barriers you faced." "Principal Mendoza, I'm not good at public speaking," I protested. "Besides, I'm just starting my professional career." Principal Mendoza smiled, with that mixture of authority and warmth that had always characterized her. "Remember your improvised speech at graduation? It was more inspiring than many professional conferences I've heard." And as for your career, at your age you've already achieved more than many professionals with decades of experience. I finally accepted. My first session as a mentor was scheduled for the following month. I prepared a detailed presentation with graphs, testimonials, and practical advice on how to balance studies and work. I practiced in front of the mirror for days, memorizing each slide, anticipating possible questions. But when I entered the auditorium of my old high school and saw 100 teenagers looking at me with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism, all my prepared notes evaporated from my mind. Instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I told them my story, the real one, without embellishments or dramatizations. I told them about the boy who served tacos and dreamed of a college degree, about the night he almost missed his graduation, and how that, paradoxically, changed his life forever. I spoke of fear, of shame, of doubts, but also of determination, of unexpected support, and of second chances. I'm not here because I'm smarter than you, I told them at the end. I'm here because someone believed in me when I myself doubted. And now it's my turn to believe in you. Today, 10 years after that graduation, I return to the high school that saw me grow. The building looks different. They've painted the walls, renovated the gardens, and built a new auditorium that bears Principal Mendoza's name, who passed away 2 years ago, leaving a legacy of 3 decades dedicated to public education. I don't come alone. I'm accompanied by Daniela, that girl from the grocery store, now the first engineer in her family and academic coordinator of our Crossing Bridges Foundation. Sebastian Ramirez is also here, my high school friend and now partner in various business projects. And of course, my family. My mom, proud manager of 3 Don Javier's Tacos locations. My brother, recently graduated as a systems technician. And my grandma, who at 83 years old continues to be the pillar that sustains our family with her wisdom and strength. The reason for our visit is special. Today we inaugurate the Miguel Hernandez Opportunity Center, a space within the high school dedicated to providing academic advice, career guidance, and psychological support to students who, like me a decade ago, face difficult circumstances while pursuing their educational dreams. The center is the result of a collaboration between our foundation, the Ramirez Business Group, and the Department of Education. It will have specialized tutors, computers, a library, and something I consider especially important, a wardrobe with formal clothing that students can use for job interviews, academic ceremonies, or any special occasion, because no one should miss an important moment for not having the appropriate attire. While I wait my turn to speak at the inauguration ceremony, I can't help but remember the path traveled. Don Javier's Tacos is now a franchise with presence in 3 states, recognized not only for the quality of its food, but for its socially responsible business model that employs and trains low-income students. Don Javier retired 3 years ago, leaving me as the majority partner, though he still shows up in the mornings at the original location to supervise that the salsa is prepared exactly as he likes it. The Crossing Bridges Foundation has grown to support more than 500 students across the state, with an 89% success rate in terms of graduation and job placement or college admission. The mentoring program that began as a request from Principal Mendoza is now a model replicated in 23 public high schools across the country. And I, the boy who once doubted if he belonged in a high school, now divide my time between directing the expansion of Don Javier's Tacos, supervising social innovation projects at the Ramirez Group, and chairing the Crossing Bridges Foundation. Last year, I even gave a TEDx talk titled From Taco Shop to Boardroom, Breaking the Cycle of Limited Expectations, which to my surprise went viral and has already surpassed 3 million views. Miguel, it's your turn. The current principal tells me, pulling me from my thoughts. I climb to the podium installed in the school's central courtyard, where hundreds of students, teachers, education authorities, and media wait for my words. Among the crowd, I distinguish a face that surprises me. Mr. Gomez, now much older, with completely white hair, but the same rigid posture I remembered. Our gazes cross for an instant, and, to my surprise, he gives me a respectful nod. I respond with a genuine smile. Years ago, I left behind any resentment. In fact, in a way, I owe him gratitude for having been, unknowingly, the catalyst for everything that came after. Good morning, everyone, I begin, adjusting the microphone. Exactly 10 years ago, in this same courtyard, I was just another student, trying to go unnoticed during breaks, worried about maintaining my grades while balancing my work and family responsibilities. I pause, observing the young faces looking at me attentively. Many of you probably feel that way right now. Invisible, overwhelmed. Perhaps some even believe they don't belong here, that their life circumstances have destined them to a limited and predetermined path. I see several students nod discreetly, recognizing those feelings in themselves. Today I want to tell you that destiny is not written in stone, that circumstances may limit us temporarily, but they don't define us permanently. That sometimes, what seems to be our most humiliating moment can become the turning point toward a future we didn't even dare to dream. I tell them my story then, the same one I've shared so many times but that never loses its power. I tell them about that night, about closed doors and unexpected windows that opened, about shame that transformed into pride, about rejection that turned into recognition. The center we inaugurate today is not just a physical space with resources and support, I continue. It's a symbol of our unshakable belief that each of you deserves the opportunity to reach your full potential, regardless of where you come from or what obstacles you face along the way. I look toward where my family is. My grandma cries silently. My mom watches me with that pride that has sustained me throughout my life, and my brother records everything with his phone, surely to immediately upload it to the Foundation's social media. This center bears my name, but it really belongs to all of you, to those who work after school, to those who come from families where no one has set foot in a college, to those who have heard 1,000 times that they can't, or that they don't belong. My voice breaks slightly, loaded with genuine emotion. You belong here. You deserve to be here. And this center exists to ensure that no one, ever again, has to stay outside when they should be inside, shining on the stage that belongs to them. As I conclude my speech and cut the inaugural ribbon amidst applause, I think of that 18-year-old Miguel, sitting alone on a garden bench with sauce-stained shoes and dreams that seemed unreachable, and I tell him silently, we made it.
If this story touched your heart, if you identified with that moment when everyone ignored your worth until someone finally saw your potential, I ask you to help me share this message of hope. Every like is a hug for those who feel invisible today in their jobs, their families, or their social circles. Every comment builds a community where we all feel heard. And every subscription allows me to continue sharing these stories that remind us that everyone, absolutely everyone, deserves to be valued. If you know someone who's going through a difficult time, where they feel that no one recognizes their effort, share this video. It might be exactly what they need to hear today. Remember that great transformations begin with small acts of courage, like Lucia noticing Miguel's talent. Perhaps you can be that person for someone else. See you in the next story. Your support makes each one of them possible. Thank you for being here.